Welcome to my classroom. In this video, which will help you with part 4 of the investigation, you need to find your fraction as a percentage. A percentage is a fraction. It's just a fraction with a denominator of 100. And that's what this word is telling you. It's out of 100. Cent meaning 100 or a hundredth. So as you do this, you need to constantly rename the denominator until you can, until you can get the denominator to be 100. Sometimes that's a simple task. Sometimes more steps can be involved. You're going to be working with the decimals, and I always say you don't want decimals in your percentages. However, you don't want decimals as part of your fractions. But when we're talking about percentage, there's an understanding that because not every number goes into 100, we will be working with decimals, and you don't need to express the denominator. So in the end, it doesn't even look like a fraction, but certainly know that it is. So if I'm talking about a number, let's say the number 8/25. To get this as a percentage, it's rather simple because I just need to get this denominator to 100. So to go from 25ths to 100ths, I'm just getting 4 times larger. So I'm increasing at that fractional rate times 4. And whatever you do to one side, you must do to the rest. So I'm going to take the numerator of 8 and also multiply that by 4. And I get the number 32. Therefore, we can say 8/25 is equal to 32%. And when we write percentages, it no longer looks like a fraction, but there's an understanding for people that really understand what a percent is, that it's 32 out of 100. And we don't put it in simplest form when we're talking about percents. It has to be per 100, so that is 32%. Now if I give you a little more difficult one, let's say you have I'm going to make it intentionally difficult. 13/40. Well, right off the bat, you can see that how do I get 40 to 100? 40 doesn't go into 100. So there are a couple different paths you can take. Instead of going directly to 100, you can do a stop off along the way. So think, how can I get it to a factor that does go into 100? Well, 40 has 10 as a factor. It's a multiple of 10. So maybe let's stop off at 10. So to change our denominator from 40 to 10, we just simply divide by 4. Now you see where the challenge is. We need to divide our numerator by 4. And unfortunately, 4 is not a factor of 13. So that is okay. And we are going to wind up with a decimal in our fraction, but it's with the understanding we're trying to get it to a percent, and decimals are okay in percentages. So when you do 13 divided by 4, you can do this in your notebook and round it off to the nearest hundredth. So I'll just demonstrate that over here. 13 divided by 4, that is 3.25. So that works out nicely. So I'm going to write that all of those decimals down. I'm not going to round it off. That's 3.25. And now to get it to 100, it's a pretty simple step. We're just multiplying by 10. And once again, we're going to then multiply our numerator by 10. And we're going to wind up with 32.5. And this looks funny when we're saying 32.5 100ths. We wouldn't want a decimal in our fraction, but when we call that 32.5%, that's an acceptable form. So 13/40 is 32.5%. Now there's another pathway you could have done to solve the same problem, and I'm just going to rewrite it. 13/40. If you didn't want to rename the denominator to 10, you could think, How do I go from 40 to 100? Well, you know you're multiplying because 100 is larger than 40. But you might not know exactly what you're multiplying by. I could think 40 times 2 is 80, and we need a little bit more. 40 times 3 is 120. So it's kind of right between there. One way to figure that out is we can think about fact families. If we know 40 times some number is 100, then 100 divided by some number would equal 40. And that would also mean that 100 divided by 40 would equal some number. So to find that and get exactly there, I'm going to do 100 divided by 40 and find out what that equals. And that's 2.5. That means that 40 times 2.5 will also equal 100. Pardon the handwriting over here. And so I know I need to multiply 40 times 2.5 to get 100. So that means I'm also going to multiply 13 times 2.5. And I can demonstrate that with the calculator as well. 2.5 times 2.5 times 13, and that equals 32.5, which makes me wonder if I did something wrong on the last one. Oh no, that's exactly what we got on the last one. We got 32.5 as well. Remember, we had 3.25. So you can see there's a different method, two different methods to do this. Find one that you're most comfortable with as you're trying to find your fractions as percents.